Hey y'all, it's Sarah. I'm still sounding a little nasally, so I'm real sorry about that. So I'm going to do my best to get through this as quick as I can. This is a really simple craft. A lot of you guys in the Peppermint Cactus Facebook group really seem to want some projects to start with, some to get your feet wet with, and I think that these letter projects tend to be one of those projects that are really simple. I'm actually going to complicate this one a little bit just for my own purposes, but you'll still see that this is a super easy one. So I'm starting out with some pieces that are already painted, and the paint tutorials for the foam core, those are their own tutorials. That way you can kind of pick and choose which one is going to suit you before you get started with your actual craft that you're putting together. I've just got some scrap remnants, so my sizing for this ended up working out to what scraps I had. You could adjust this to pretty much anything that you're wanting to fit. I am going to show a letter A for this, but I am personally not going to be using a letter A. I've got my little fall witch's hat. I don't know if you guys saw me post this one, but this is actually going to be my A for right now. Really quick, my larger pieces, I have 3 pieces at right at 15 inches. I've got 3 pieces right at 8 inches and then 1 at 5. Now, the other thing that I also have, because I want to bulk these up and I'm going to do them a little different than the last time I did a set of letters, I've got a bunch of scraps, and you really can see these are cut up, and they are just some scraps that I'm going to try to bulk my piece up with instead of just doing the popsicle sticks like I did with the last 2 sets. So really quick, I'm going to show you how these are going to go together. It's very simple. So your 8-inch pieces will go at the bottom of 2 of your almost 15-inch pieces, or mine are right at 15. So they'll go there, and then one of the 8 inches and the 5-inch are going to go there, and you can see where we're going with this. So the difference on this, and I'm going to flip these over because it'll make it a little easier for me to draw and sketch. I'm going to measure out some of these scraps, and I'm going to bulk my letters up some, and I'm probably going to have to trim down because none of these are cut to match, but they all looked fairly close in size to what I was needing. And here's how I'm going to do these. If you want to take the simple route, you can do like I did the other ones and just come in with some popsicle sticks and attach these pieces together, and you'll just have a single layer letter, and these end up making it really stable. This is just some of the wider Dollar Tree popsicle sticks. I'm not doing that this time. I am going to come in, let's see what kind of pieces I have here. I am going to overlap in the opposite direction to stack and bulk these. Instead of layering them one on one, I'm going to go the opposite and attach these and just trim them down as I go. And that way I have the extra thickness, and it's giving me some stability too. And I'm just going to jump right into doing this. I put a whole bunch of glue on this little scrap. And I'm just kind of using my desktop to make sure everything runs flush. Pushing it all together really nice. And I'm going to do that to each piece. And the F is going to be a little trickier, and I'll show you it in just a moment. Okay, so I've trimmed down my letter L's and gotten those kind of bulked up. We'll end up painting these sides out all nice and even. I'm going to bring my F over here. We're just going to lay this out for a moment. So I've got a few more scraps left, and I also have the pieces that were left over from what I just cut. So I'm just using one of these pieces to help space my little spot right here nicely. I'm going to go ahead and get this glued to this end. We're just going to glue these down kind of the opposite of one another. And the F is a little more quirky to work with. So I had this little 3-inch square left over. Just part of why I went ahead and spaced it that way. And this still allows me to have my beefiness right there in that spot. So there's kind of continuity down my edges. But I'm going to have more support for this little arm of the F. And it looks like this little scrap that I used to space it may be perfect for this lower spot. Wow, it is almost spot on. Not quite. It needs a little trim, but that's pretty crazy that it worked out that way. This is part of why I always love digging through my scraps and seeing what I can pull off from them. So there's the letter F. Like I said, it was a little more complex. So you can kind of see how that lines up, but it gives it a lot more stability. This is a lot thicker feel now. And all I'm going to do is trim this off like I did my L's with these little scraps. You could have cut these down to size perfectly right at the beginning. But I do like trying to use up pieces that have already been cut first. It's a little harder to cut through where you've got your hot glue, but it'll cut through. And here we go. We have our nice, really solid now letter F. And I am going to show you an A for those of you that haven't seen the other videos that have some of those other letters. And now with this new freehand tool that I have mentioned in the Cool Tools video, you definitely could go in and do rounded letters. However, for fall, they end up being very squared off letters to begin with. So I'm going to grab off of my scraps pile. This is what I've got laying over here. And I happen to have a piece that is cut along a 45-degree angle. So I'm just going to use that to help start building my letter A. And I need to come in with my larger cutting mat because I'm going to need some space to cut here. So I'm going to keep one of these letters close by that I can use it to size. I could measure the entire thing out, but this is going to help me move a little faster at this. So you can see where we're going to have to trim our A here at the top where this 45 hits. And And I'm just going to come in with a pencil, grab my ruler. I'm going to line that up really nicely right there. And we'll have kind of a flat top to our letter A. So, trying to keep that intact. I'm going to come down here where this straight part of my F is, and I'm going to run my ruler up against it and use that as a basis to get the angle on the legs of my A, so to speak. So there you go. And the last thing I'm going to do is, let me just pull a scrap here for this centerpiece. This is a little bit large, so we'll cut it down also. And you can determine where you want your little dash for your A. I'm kind of looking at this, and I'd like to line it up here. However, it looks like it's a little high to me there. So I'm going to move it down just a little bit. And same thing, where it lines up, I'm just going to kind of mark it. No fuss, no muss. Lining it up with this leg of the A. Marking that. Make sure I can see it. And I'm just going to trim these couple of pieces down. Pop across this angle for the upper portion of my A. Trim his legs down. Okay, I've cut those pieces down, and really quick, I'm just going to show you the assembly. I've taken that where that 45 was, lined up my feet. You can see now they are straight across. And I'm just sliding and wedging that piece in there. You would do the back the same way, measure out the pieces to join your pieces in the back. And there you go. I'm not putting together an A because I'm not actually going to use one. But the next thing I do want to show you is really quick. I'm going to finish these pieces off. And to do that, I have a mix. This is my kind of edge mix where it is a in-between kind of shade, fairly dark, not quite black, not quite antique. And it works really well for me on my edges. And I'm going to show you really quick. It is just a combination of these three. It's a little bit of the Waverly Wax and Clear, a little bit of the Waverly Wax and Antique, and a little bit of the Waverly Chalk Paint and Ink. So that's what I've got mixed together in this little cup. And there's a video somewhere on here that actually shows me mixing that together to get a much darker espresso level type brown color rather than the reddish brown that the antique comes out to be. And when I'm using some of these woods like this, it just works better to have that. So when I talk about doing the edges or cleaning up those edges and finishing out your piece, really this is all I'm going to do is I'm taking a kitchen sponge, I'm dipping it into that mix that I have created. And you don't have to keep it pre-mixed. It's just something I use that often that it was worth it to keep it pre-mixed for me. You can do this as you go. Do your edges with whatever color is going to work for your project. I do like doing it with a sponge. It does make it so much easier. If you still have some little cracks in there that show a little white, you'd want to be sure to paint a little of your edges when you're doing your pieces. And that always helps with those kind of places in between where they meet. And for me, I would just go ahead, come in, and I'm not doing a professional finish on this. Nothing like we focus on with the front. But I do like to have a somewhat finished back. If I don't do it this way, if it's a larger piece, and the back has some damage, I just use the craft paper, the craft kind of wrapping paper on the roll that looks like brown paper bag. I use that from the Dollar Tree and cut it to size and fit it to my back. So when this is all said and done, each of these will have a nice finished out edge. Clean up any overspill here on your surface. And from a distance, these will look like a nice little fairly thick piece of wood. And I'm going to finish these and show you the final piece. All of my letters are now painted and finished out. You can kind of see. That's the back, that's the front, the sides, everything's kind of all finished out. This is how my setup is going to be, except for it is likely going to be up and down on my wall versus going horizontal. Just because of the setup that I have going. I did want to show, I did go ahead and finish out the letter A just in case I wanted it. If you wanted to put a wreath here, or a wooden pumpkin would be really cute. Anything like that. I just happen to want to use my cute little witch's hat, and I still may use a pumpkin just to kind of switch it out. I may use this for October and use a pumpkin for now. We'll see. I have options. I love that. These are lightweight enough that even after we kind of chunked them up and bulked them up, at this size, they're still lightweight enough that I'm going to be able to just pop these on my wall with some poster tack stuck kind of in the corners and a couple different places, and I'll be able to pop these on my wall really simply and pop them back down later. But to me, this is a really good one for those of you that have wanted to try something but are a little intimidated by some of the other things, the other larger pieces and things like that. So this one is certainly one worth diving into and just trying out. You only need 3 fully painted strips. So practice with some strips. Pull out your better ones, pull out your worst one. These are honestly probably not my best strips. There are still some fingerprints on these and what have you, but it takes about 3 painted strips and then a few blanks so that you can bulk it up. And that's even if you want to bulk it up. You can always go more this route, putting them together, and I wanted to show that. And I hope you have fun with this idea. I just really wanted to put something out there very, very simple with the foam core for those of you that have mentioned that you've been a little nervous about diving in and you wanted to dive into something really simple. I feel like this one is pretty simple. I hope you enjoyed it. I've got more holiday crafts coming. I'm a little mixed with holidays, so I tend to do fall, Thanksgiving, Halloween, all kind of at the same time, and then just put out different things at different times. So September, I'll have one look. October, I'll have one look. In November, I'll have one look. So they're a little all over the place. I hope that doesn't get too confusing. And Like I usually mention, if you haven't checked out the Peppermint Cactus Facebook group, they're already putting up some really awesome seasonal crafts. There are some amazing crafters on there. Jump over there, check it out, look at the inspiration. Just hang out and stare at the pretty pictures. I hope that you guys get a chance to craft today and make something pretty. I'm going to knock out a few more projects and hopefully get this little set put up on my wall. Bye, guys.